right, 2 weeks ago, we dropped our thoughts on Mash Vs Asta, and you guys really liked it. So whether you took the red pill of power scaling, the blue pill of bling bang born, or you're just in that C crowd who the algorithm seemingly dragged to us by force, I hear your cries. You want more. So let's do this one last time. Could Toji Fushiguro, the man who heaven itself freed from the clutches of cursed energy, defeat Mash Dad, the wizard born without God's greatest gift of magic? Well, I'll give you the answer, but since this is a sequel for everyone who watched that last vid, we gotta do this the right way.
Tokyo's the way, overflowing sea of many people now just on your own, now choose your walk. Start searching for your own path. Tokyo's way, whoa, Tokyo's way, way, Tokyo's way, whoa, T-O-K-Y-O. Meow, meow.
Now, when discussing a fight between the guy who quite literally flipped off fate at every turn, and the obligatorily referenced boy who lifted, it's important to remember that while these two are complete opposites in a lot of regards, the blessed, intelligent assassin Toji and the jinxed, well-meaning musclehead Mash are both, at the end of the day, basically just that. Two really strong dudes who are at the pinnacle of power in their respective series and win their fights almost entirely by punching the other guy in the face. In Toji's case, this level of physical dominance was acquired through something called heavenly restriction, a process which basically traded off his universe's equivalent of magic to escape the Matrix and become jacked. As for Mash, well, I wouldn't think too hard about it. He's just strong because he's strong. One too many bench presses and a diet of cream puffs will do that to you, I guess. Regardless though, I bring this up because you'd think in a fight between two characters who are effectively designated the sole role of face puncher in their series, this sort of pitch back and forth comparison of their stats and physique would have to lean towards some sort of obvious winner, based upon who's got the higher numbers and all. But what if I told you this idea is completely wrong, with the real winner of this matchup having pretty much nothing to do with who's actually stronger, to the point that Mash and Toji are both basically in a position to just one-tap the other given the right scenarios. And if you're in the majority who suggested this matchup based upon the animes of both respective series, you'd probably think I'm on something pretty hard, since while Toji in his current Season 2 iteration is definitely strong, taking on the city-destroying disaster curses and far surpassing a Mach 3 Naoya by the manga's standards, which is a feat far more impressive than Mash's own recent anime showings like struggling with this random Mach 1 wizard. The problem though as an anime viewer is that the Mash you know from Season 2 is a complete lie. A lie which totally changes the tide of this battle just because of these dinky little things right here. As we learn in Chapter 96, a long time ago, Mash's grandfather, after recognizing the danger his adopted grandson's power posed to the world around him, decided to put an arbitrary limitation upon his power level to keep his enormous strength in check. But when and if these limiting bracelets are ever removed, something that Mash can theoretically do whenever he wants, Mash attains full muscles magic, unlimited physical mode. And when you see this form, I don't want you to think 2, 10, or even 100 times increase, because the gap between this version of Mash and whatever an anime viewer would currently know him as is basically incalculable. Since we already learned that the Mach 1 sound wizard from the anime is just another case of Mash screwing around during his early fights, since he goes on to fight Levis, who with his invariable railgun's second spell could shoot projectiles at a stated Mach 7 speed, which a more serious Mash, who did still have his weights on, could easily react to. And then, that same Mach 7 Levis explains that there's this guy named Domina, who's effectively an inhuman god compared to both himself and even the divine visionaries, making it pretty clear that he thought Mash stood no chance against him, despite the fact that he just lost to Mash moments prior. But as you could probably expect, Mash was already long gone before that monologue had ever finished, causing the fight between himself and Domina to break loose, where for the first time, Mash is actually pushed to what we can believe are his real limits, as he actually says as much on panel, with Mash being pushed to take off his bracelets for the first time in the story, before promptly making Domino look like the biggest joke in the entire series, blitzing his perception by what's stated to be tens of thousands of times over, to the point of creating so many afterimages that it seemed like he could physically be in hundreds of locations all at once to beat the god of water with a simple bucket brigade. And keep in mind, this dude was pretty well folding Mash just moments before with his bracelets on. So just considering the sheer gap between losing to someone and then making them look like a statue 500,000 times over is clearly pretty insane to try and quantify for any sort of multiplier. Especially considering that this isn't even some sort of special technique that takes any kind of heavy toll on the user. It's basically just the equivalent of Mash playing without a handicap. Oh, and did I mention that Mach 7 guy from before who Mash absolutely throttled said he could destroy an entire country in one attack? A feat which, even if you look at really uncharitably, is literally one of the mandatory qualifications for the highest tier of power available in Jujutsu Kaisen. So just take that massive speed increase from before, apply it to Mash's potentially special grade base strength, then realize we're only halfway through the Mashle manga, and that Mash gets unfathomably stronger from here to the end, to the point of being able to bully a Planet Buster in his weakened base state, after a trip through the afterlife equivalent of the hyperbolic time chamber, making it pretty obvious why I'd think Mash can physically break Toji like a Kit Kat bar. One of these characters folds a definitive world-ending threat, and the other is in a series where planetary attacks are so hyped up that even when they're nerfed, suppressed, and at a Pokemon-style type disadvantage, they still nearly one-shot their intended target. But, like I told you before, raw strength alone isn't all that matters here. And underestimating Toji is on record as one of the worst ideas a person could ever have. Because Toji, as your average JJK character and a trained hitman, expectedly has some tools in his kit that functionally let him hit way above his weight class and crack through all sorts of broken hacks. And in Toji's case in particular, when I say tools, I literally mean tools, as a Heavenly Restriction user who doesn't have any cursed energy has to rely upon that old reliable method for beating magical Jujutsu sorcerers, which is just carrying the entire nuclear arsenal's worth of cursed weapons on his back. With all the weapons at his disposal, each serving a different purpose for hunting all manner of overpowered prey. Whether it's the inverted Spear of Heaven that negates curse techniques, the Playful Cloud which bolsters his physical strength, or a 1911 because sometimes putting a cap in the bad guy is all it takes. Now, hopefully I don't have to tell you that all of those would be entirely useless against Mash, since Mash has no magical technique to get negged, is far too strong to get bonked, and much too fast to get capped. But with Toji being a professional at this, he would obviously pick up on all that relatively quickly too, meaning he's gonna have to rely on his only weapon that can actually punch up to Mash's level, the Soul Split Katana. Because this katana, which was later reforged in the modern day to be used by Maki Zenin against Sukuna, is a sword that attacks, not on the physical plane, but the spiritual one. And due to how souls work in the world of JJK, damage to the shape of the soul, in turn, causes damage to the physical body, effectively allowing Toji to bypass the concept of durability altogether. So if an unsuspecting Mash just stood there with his guard down like a budget Saitama, then got hit with the old 1-2 UK special, Mash is going to take actual long-lasting, tangible damage, despite being basically 1,000,000 times more powerful than the Sorcerer Slayer. And with a well enough placed strike, just like we saw against Sukuna in the manga, Mash could be fatally wounded or even offed in just a single hit, leading us right back to where we started, by saying that Mash can grab a win by atomizing Toji in a single punch, and that Toji can theoretically win by going full-blown Great Britain on him. Meaning the only real deciding factor in this matchup is speed. A breakneck blitz to see which of the two would be first to the draw, for their very obvious and sort of straightforward win conditions. Yes, a race between someone who moved 3,000 times faster than the speed of light in his fight against Innocent Zero, and someone whose entire series put together can barely dodge lightning. Look, I'm sorry, I tried to keep things close, being as charitable as humanly possible with this one, but ignoring the fact that Mash could just snap Toji's katana like a twig if he wanted, Mash can and has survived just fine without his heart, spine, and other internal organs, so I doubt Toji shanking him would even really affect his demeanor all that much, meaning that if Toji can't literally rip the guy in half right out the gate, then even if he was the fastest character in Jujutsu Kaisen by thousands of times over, whether it's manga or anime, without his weights, Mash wouldn't need any other complicated abilities, ideas, or techniques to accidentally send him and his entire bloodline straight into the blast zone. And that's all for today. Thanks, everyone.